here's what we're going to go over. So first of all, kind of a check-in, a progress check, communication, the tools that we use, leads, dialing, appointments, accountability, reporting, your first goal, and what it takes to win. So a lot to go over. It's not as complicated as it looks. This is going to be fun. First of all, a quick progress check. And you can report this to your upline manager, but everyone should have E&O insurance by now. If you don't, I encourage you to get it. With some carriers, it's required. Some carriers, it's not. It took me about 3 or 4 weeks to realize I really need it. It's like malpractice if you're a doctor. So get it to protect yourself, but also gives you access to more carriers. And then carrier contracts, by now you should have these. If not, you should be working on them or at least waiting for them. Get all the carrier contracts from your upline. Make sure you're on top of that stuff, because without contracts, you're not going to be writing any business. Prosperity comes from your manager, not from Equus. So that's one. If you haven't gotten that, same with Ethos. You have to get those invitations directly from your manager, not from Jessica or Equus. Those are 2 contracts you definitely want. It's good companies. So if you haven't got those, ask for them. Okay, communication. You've all seen the calls. Hopefully you've been on some. You're in the Telegram. Hopefully everyone's on Telegram. Telegram is where we do all of our communication. It's announcements, it's celebration when people have wins. Sometimes it's inspiration, and we're pumping each other up because we all need it. We're a team, but we're just spread out. So we're not like next to each other in cubicles. So this is where we come together virtually, is on the Telegram chat room. But also important announcements. And then, of course, you guys all saw from the announcement here. So I know you're on Telegram, the trainings and things like that. So this is really important. I don't have very many things on my phone that have notices that turn on, because I hate my phone interrupting my day constantly. This is one of the few exceptions that I made. I'll see every notice that comes up. My Telegram always chimes, because it's that important to me. So I encourage you to make it a priority to engage and to chime in, post things, ask questions, use it as a resource. There's hundreds of agents on there, and somebody's going to know an answer if you're stuck and can't get a hold of a manager. So use the Telegram. And my team, you'll have to ask your manager about this one, but my team uses Voxer, and that's for leaving recorded messages back and forth instead of texting. So my team knows to tell me about their day, and they just leave me a Voxer if it's not urgent. So I really like that, because it keeps our line of communication efficient. If you're on an appointment, don't use Voxer. Make sure you're texting or calling your manager, however they like to do that with you. But Voxer is a nice shortcut for leaving messages and things to each other. Okay, so some of the tools that we use, this one is the underwriting guide. You've got final expense, and you've got term/universal life. They're 2 different worlds. So term and universal life has steeper underwriting. So it's harder to get these policies. That's why they're better for younger people, because younger people are usually healthier. And the downside of term, of course, is that it expires. But you can have, if you're talking to a younger person, they're likely looking for term. And if you're talking to an older person, it's likely going to be final expense. Now, there's exceptions to that, but those are the general rules. Just know that if you talk to somebody that's younger, that has some real bad health issues, they may even have to go final expense. But final expense is a little more forgiving with health conditions. But you're going to scroll through, you're going to find the health condition, you see the carrier, and you're going to find which one works best. I don't memorize anything. This would take forever to learn. I just know where to look for it. Okay. So shortcut, if you're starting out, don't sit and memorize these underwriting guides. Just learn where they are, have it at your desk, and get good at flipping and finding the ailment, the disease or disorder, and then pairing up the situation with the best carrier. So underwriting is a process. There's more to it than that, because sometimes there's multiple issues going on, but that's where you use your upline manager. So Vicky, I know you'll reach out to Jason. He's one of the best underwriters in the business. But everybody has access to somebody more experienced, where you can say, hey, here's a case. I'm going to take a picture. Here's the situation. What do you think? And then get feedback. You want to do that on your appointment before you hang up the phone. Don't hang up the phone and ask your manager and then try and call them back, because a lot of times you'll lose them and they won't pick up. They've moved on. So Underwriting guides are an important tool because they help you right then and there, give clarity and answers so you can resolve and get a policy before you hang up the phone. This dashboard you've all seen. Hopefully you're logged in. You've got a couple of things on here that I want to point out. Now, there's all kinds of tools and stuff. We're not going to go through this, but here's your production for the week. This is the important stuff because this tells you how much you've submitted, how much has been paid. And then when you submit a new application, every time through the carrier, you're going to submit in their portal, but then you come into here, into Equus on your dashboard, and you click Submit New App, and you report to Equus. Now, why would you want to do that? Because Equus pays bonuses. They give promotions. They give you raises and all kinds of goodies. And if you don't report your business, you miss out on that. Okay. Not only do you miss out on that personally, but your team also misses out on that production. So non-reported business does not get bonused. You have about 24 to 48 hours, I think. If you're brand new, they're a little more forgiving, but it's a headache for the team to have to go in and track down your apps if you don't report them. So make sure, make it a practice. As soon as you submit an application, just go on Equus, click that button right there, submit new app, and report your app. Okay, that's part of the process. So don't ever leave that out. Leads are the lifeblood of our business. So I want to expand your mind a little bit about how to approach leads, and I'll do that here in a second. But first, I want you to know there's no perfect lead system. Okay, look at them as an investment, not an expense. If you're a business owner, you're going to spend a lot of money on marketing somehow, somewhere. You're going to build a website. You're going to do billboards. I used to work in marketing, so I did radio commercials and TV commercials. People spend thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, even more, just to get the word out, hoping to get leads, hoping to get clients. Well, you can either spend money on marketing or you can just buy leads. Either way, you have to get in front of people. So look at leads as an investment because you're a business owner now. But friends and family are free leads. And the lady next to you at the grocery store line, free lead. So don't underestimate the power of just talking to people and asking them, and get good at engaging conversations and let people know what you do. Don't be a secret agent. Put yourself in a position to win. And you do that by having plenty of leads. If you've got a lot of leads, your mindset is better. You have a lot of opportunities, a lot of swings at the bat, so to speak, right? And here's where you get leads. This is brand new, Lead Center, okay? If you haven't registered yet, you've probably seen the announcements. You need to get on and register for Lead Center. It's taken people a couple of days. I don't know why. I think it's bogged down. It's kind of slow, probably because there's so many agents coming over. But once you're in, this is where you order leads, and you can see the lead map. It's in real time and it's constantly changing. There's leads all across the country. If you're a virtual agent, you can get licensed in multiple states. You can work from home. And like New York, for example, you can work in whichever states you want. So you find the states, you pick some leads. If you scroll down, you can choose, you can see all the different lead types, and there's more coming. Ethos leads are coming on here. We have title leads coming around the corner. So right now, anywhere from 75 cents to $16. The Diamond Life leads I've heard are really good. Krista's been working those, and she knows about those. So the thing that you'll want, though, is to set up a campaign, which is the new name for standing lead order. So when we were in Opt, the other system, we would get on a standing lead order. Now you can register for a campaign so that when those leads are generated, they come right to your inbox. Okay, they are exclusive. They pull them off the inventory. They go right to you for that period of time, and you get to work them. So try different types of leads. We're not going to go into a lead strategy on this call because everybody's situation is different. It needs to be individual. So get back with your manager, develop a lead strategy based on your budget and maybe what you like, your expertise. Because there's the different conversations that you have, the different scripts are going to be from different lead types. So bottom line, though, lead strategy, this guy right here, his name is Reggie Williams. He had a batting average of 262. He was 14th in home runs, okay, with 563 home runs, and he was in the Hall of Fame in 1993. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and guess what other record he had? The record of strikeouts. He struck out more than any other person in the MLB. I think he still holds that record today. What does that say? You can be in the Hall of Fame and be the record strikeout person. That's crazy. So same thing applies to our business. Those people at the top of the leaderboard, they're striking out more because it's more swings at the bat. Okay, you're getting in front of more people. And that's why I say when you get your leads, get a big volume of leads, because that's each lead is a swing at the bat. And you're going to have some home runs. You're going to have plenty of strikeouts. You're going to have a lot of people tell you to go pound sand. And you're going to have some people that are so grateful that you came into their life and changed their family because of the protection you put in place. We're just looking for those people. Everyone else is white noise. So remember Reggie Williams when you're buying your leads, because there's a lot of power in that principle. Okay, so a couple of things with dialing, really simple. Okay, first of all, in the training, there's those scripts. So if you skip the training or you didn't get to it, go back to My Agent Builder and you can get scripts. Equus has scripts on their site, wherever you want to get them. I like to put the scripts on the wall. I don't memorize them. I just look at them and I remember. I don't now, but I used to when I was starting. I even put objections up on the wall. So if somebody said they wanted to think about it or they just got something, I can just kind of glance, oh yeah, that's what I say. And then I use my words. I never memorized the script. I was never robotic. I used my words, but I followed the idea from the script. So learn the script, don't memorize it. Talk slower and lower than you think. Okay, when I do trainings and when I'm speaking, I tend to talk fast. Like, at least that's what people tell me. So when I'm dialing, though, I've trained myself. I slow way down. So how I'm talking to you now is not how I dial. I slow way down and I talk in a slower voice. It exudes confidence. It exudes a tone that's inviting. Now, I'm not saying be boring, but I am saying slower and lower than you think. And it will get people out of that telemarketer mindset. The high-pitched, hey, how you doing? That kind of a thing that salespeople will do. You want to stay away from that. You want to position yourself as a professional, not as a salesperson. The objections will come. You're going to have objections on a regular basis, so get good at handling them. Don't let them ruffle your feathers, first and foremost. The best answer is no problem, and then continue. So not a problem. A lot of people feel that way, and I'm here to see if I can help, blah, 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 blah. You can see in the objections, they almost always start out with, oh, that's not a problem. And then I continue on. So that's a great way to start when you're handling an objection, is with that phrase. But the goal of a dial is to get someone to answer. That's why we double and triple dial. We dial in the morning, afternoon, evening, different times of day. And you want to be tracking all that so you know. But the goal is to get them, when you're dialing, to get them to answer. So there's some different strategies to get someone to pick up the phone. You can call from multiple phone numbers. You can text them and say, hey, is this John? And then when they say, yeah, who's this? Then you call them and they pick up because you've intrigued them. You can call 3 times back to back, usually on the second or third call. Someone's curious, so they pick up. So that's strategy number 1, is get them to answer the phone. The second strategy, once they do answer, of course, the goal then becomes to book an appointment. So you do that with following the scripts, overcoming objections, you working on your tone, okay, the lower and slower concept, and helping people feel comfortable. So I'm going to recommend, if you haven't yet, whether you've been around for a year or you're brand new, record yourself on your first dials or record yourself on a recent dial. Get a second device, hold it up next to you while you're dialing, and record yourself. Share it with your manager. I know you're like, what? Yeah. Share it with your manager and get some input, because how we sound a lot of times in our own head is very different than when you listen to a recording and you're like, oh my goodness. Like, have you ever done this where you listen to yourself and you're like, I sound like that? I do. And it helps you realize where you need to change, because tonality is huge. Okay. Not just the words you say, but how you say them. It's very important. Saturday morning dial sessions, really, really helpful, especially for newer agents. I shouldn't say every Saturday, but most Saturday mornings, a team of the managers get together and it's announced on the GroupMe or on the Telegram. Join us. Don't just listen, but listen a little bit, get some confidence, and then mute out and dial. They're great for group camaraderie, for learning and listening. If you get stumped or if somebody gives you a curveball and you're not sure what to do, you can come back into the dial session. You can raise your hand. You can get some coaching, get right back at it. So join us. Those are very helpful. They're live dial sessions. Okay, setting appointments. All right, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you can actually write a policy on yourself. So you can get yourself covered and you can get paid for that. Okay, very cool, right? We can get our own commission on our own policy we write on ourselves. Not only that, but you can do the same thing with family. Hey, mom, hey, dad, brothers, sisters, cousins, whoever. And then you can branch outside of that into your warm market and write policies on any of those people as well. So by this time, there's probably dozens and dozens of people, hundreds of people in your phone, in your networks, your neighbors, the soccer club. I mean, if you really think about it, these are all free leads. And if you're getting started, I always challenge new agents to get in front of 10 or 15 new people just as practice appointments. Okay. And you can call it that. I'm new. I just got my license. I'm practicing. Do you mind if I run some quotes on you? Okay. Very simple. That's all you're asking. And by default, you'll probably write a couple of policies. And then you take that income from policies you write, you can fund your lead bill with it moving forward. Now, do you have to do it this way? No, you can come out of pocket to fund your lead bill, but I like to recommend trying to do it as cost effective as possible. And if you know people and those are free leads, I'd take advantage of them. So either way, though, we got to get to this over here because this is where the millions and millions and millions of people are. Your little circle is probably very small compared to the potential of the lead market. And that's why so many agents, their business is built on leads because now sky's the limit. You know, you can buy as many leads as you want. Okay, the appointment form looks like this. Now, this is the one I use. There's other ones out there, the ones that you use on your teams, Ken and Jason. I'm not sure if we all use different ones, but in principle, they're the same thing. So I'm going to walk you through this real quick. When you have an appointment, this one has got a mortgage date at the top, but this also works for life insurance. You're going to want to fill out the vital information, and then you're going to do a needs analysis, and then you're going to do an underwriting analysis. Okay, so two things. Needs, that's the finance, that's the money side. Okay, these are all the numbers. And then the underwriting is the medical. Okay, so two hurdles you have to get through with somebody before you even start quoting. So the needs is the first one. So we're going to find out if there's even a sale to be made to begin with. Now, probably there is because they filled out a form. So they're looking for something. There's a need. We just need to find it with them. And we find it by asking a lot of questions. Okay, that's what we do. So our appointment should be like 75% questions and listening to them give answers. And a lot of agents get nervous and they do a lot of talking and teaching and preaching and lecturing, and the person doesn't get a chance to express their need. And what's everyone's favorite radio station? WIIFM, right? What's in it for me? Everyone wants to know what's in it for me. So they want to be heard. If you'll ask questions on your appointments, you will become an advisor to them, not a salesperson. A salesperson is there for what? Features and benefits, right? Here's why it's the best. Here's why you should use this. Here's why you should buy our product. It's all me, I, this, right? It's on sale, buy now, right? That's all the traditional, used car salesman's type tactics. We don't do that. That doesn't work. Find out why they're looking. Ask them directly. What is it that you're looking for? Why do you feel the need to get this? Why did you fill out this form? What piqued your interest about this? Why is it important for you to look into this right now? I see you already have some coverage. So what is it that you're looking for that you don't already have? I ask very common sense questions. When someone says, yeah, I've got 100,000, what's a natural next question? Well, you have 100,000, you're still looking for life insurance. Well, what is it that you are looking for that you don't already have in your current? Oh, I just want more coverage. Well, that's fine. That's easy, obvious stuff. I want them to say it. I need them to tell me so that two things. Number one, we both know for clarity's sake, because you'll get some, they'll be like, oh, I didn't see that coming. But secondly, when someone says something out loud, they hear themselves say it. And what's happening psychologically is they are convincing themselves that they need what you're selling. And you want that to come from them, not from you. Because when it comes from them, then they convince themselves and they sell themselves on what you need. And it just makes the whole journey much, much easier. So you need to draw that out. Ask as many questions as you need to get clarity, to get to the point in the presentation where you can say, whether it's out loud or in your mind, oh, okay, I can see why we're talking. Okay, that's the point you want to get to. So I want to make sure my family's safe. If I die, I want to make sure my kids have money for college. I want to replace my income. I want to pay off my mortgage. I want to whatever. I want them to say it. I don't want to guess, and I don't want to put those words in their mouth because it's not me. It's about them. Remember the radio station. What's in it for me? That's a trigger. That's huge. This needs analysis right here. This is the most important part of your appointment. Okay. Once we have clarity and there is a need, only then do I move forward to the underwriting. Got it. I can see that there's a need. I can see why we're talking. Let me see where I can help. Possibly find you insurance. Okay. Let me see if I can possibly find you some options. Let me ask you some medical questions. Do you use tobacco? You start checking off these boxes. Height and weight, age, birthday, conditions and medications. Now this part's really important. I list out all their medications, and next to each medication, I want the condition that it treats. Okay, medication, condition, side by side. Just like a nice little married couple sitting there holding hands right next to each other. You got the condition and the medication. Boom. Okay, and if there's multiple medications, that's fine. For one condition, you can draw lines or whatever. But your upline manager needs to see if it's metoprolol, that it's for high blood pressure, not for angina or congestive heart failure, okay? Or because there was a heart attack last week. All very different things, very different underwriting. So if you just put metoprolol on there and don't say why or what it's used for, I don't really know if I can give term or if we can recommend final expense, or maybe it's guaranteed issue. Maybe they won't even get final expense. So you got to be really clear on your underwriting. Anytime there's a major event, get a date. Had a heart attack? Next question. How long ago was that? Diabetes. When did you first get diagnosed with diabetes? Had a stroke. When was the stroke? I had a felony. Don't forget to ask about lifestyle questions, DUIs and felonies. People can be perfectly healthy and get declined because of lifestyle challenge, especially younger people. So all those questions are down at the bottom. You can ask all these 6 questions and check them off or whatever. And once you've got all of this, you're leading the client along. They know they need it. Now we're going to see if we can qualify. So it's kind of, I never overpromise. I'm like, we're going to check this out together and see if we can get you something. So they're feeling the hope that they'll qualify because they're wanting coverage now. And because everybody wants what they can't have, right? So we're go through with an air of skepticism. And I try and it's like, okay, let's see. And I never promise. I always say, we'll do our best and see if we can get this to work. I'm going to try and find you something that works great. I use that kind of language because it makes them want it even more. So at this point, if you're new and you're working with the manager, take a picture of it, a clear picture, and text it, or you would call your manager. Some managers like to take in-home appointments if you're face-to-face with you. But at the very least, text it your manager and get their input. Okay. If you know what you're doing, you've been around a long time, you may not need to use your manager as much, but in the early months, you definitely want to check this against your manager because there's some nuances that you'll miss just using the underwriting guides. Turn it over and I run quotes, and there's the back, and it's plan A, plan B for him and her. And I just do 3, small, medium, and large. And usually pick the medium. You want one price to be in the $70 to $80 range. That's kind of the national average, so that there's no sticker shock. If you have everything up $300, $400, $500, they're going to freak out and kick you out of their house or hang up the phone. But even if you have to back off the death benefit, get one of them down into a reasonable price. And you can kind of figure out based on their income, a little bit of common sense about what that price should be that is going to be comfortable for them. So this is just where I write down, and I've got place for notes. And then, of course, the policy issued. This is for me up here. If I'm following up, I'll fill that out. And there you go. So that's the appointment form front to back on both sides. And that's how we go through an appointment, generally speaking. Now, there's nuances when you're in mortgage protection. And and versus just regular life insurance. But that's the gist of an appointment. The financial analysis, establish the need, why they want this. Let's see what we can qualify for based on our health. And then let's look at our best options and then run pricing. Check with the manager, run pricing. So you're going to check, if you're new, you check with the manager right here before you start running pricing, because you want to hear from them, Forrester Strong Foundation or GPM or American Amicable, Senior Choice, or whatever that answer is. That way we know what to quote. Okay. So before you quote, you want an answer from your upline. And the goal, of course, with every appointment is to try and get 100% resolution start to finish before you hang up the phone. We want an app in and placed before we hang up. It's a one-call close. Now, you're going to have some of those people that string it along or make it into 2 calls, and sometimes you can't get out of it. But the goal is to try start to finish to take them into an application, submit the application, and then hang up. So keep that in mind and treat it as such. Okay, so the next tool is the toolkit. Hopefully you've all been on here. I'm not going to spend too much time on here, but this is my favorite space in the toolkit, is the quoter, where I can enter in all the medications and conditions. And you can do this without the help of your upline, but still ask for their input. Just going on here and see what it says. You're going to add some things. You're going to ask the questions that they ask here. You're going to type in all their medications, age, height, weight, all that stuff. And then once you get some answers, you can see which one looks best. You can run the quotes. You can say, let's compare. And then we're going to run 3 quotes, low, medium, and high, right? Click compare quotes. And then voila, you got 59, 86, and 131. That's a great sweet spot of quotes. You got a low one. Most people will go with the 86, and the medium one is just how it works. So from there, you can show those. You can even see the accidental figures in there if they wanted the accidental death benefit rider. Click on the e-application on the one that they pick. It takes you right in and you can start the application. So you do need your logins. Save all your logins, username, password. You don't want to be fumbling around trying to reset your password because you forgot it while the client's waiting and are ready to go. When you have a buyer, you need to act fast. So ask me how I know. In the early days, there were a few appointments like that where I was resetting my password because I lost it or whatever. And it's kind of embarrassing. When you're on a mortgage protection call, it's important that you funnel the conversation in one of 3 directions: either full payoff, partial payoff, or equity protection. Full is usually for younger people. I'm going to say generally 20 to 40 years old, and usually it's term coverage. Okay. Now, is this a hard and fast rule? No. I've had 40-year-olds that go to final expense, and I've had 65-year-olds that get term. So it's not a hard and fast rule, but generally speaking, someone that's young, get a term policy, they can pay off the whole mortgage, and it's really inexpensive. So you can talk about it in that terms. We're going to pay off your whole house. If you pass away, the house is paid off. A lot of times that's all they want. Option 2 is when they start getting of age, to be nice, to put it nicely. I'm of age. I'm in this category. A partial payoff, it's too much. My mortgage is going to be, let's say $300,000. For a guy my age, $300,000 mortgage, it's probably $200 or $300 a month for a term policy. So that starts to eat at the budget quite a bit. So don't go there. Usually what we do is we back it off and we do a partial payoff strategy. And we say, okay, we're going to try and pay off half of the house so that it puts your spouse in a good position where they can then refinance. They can pull out equity. They could rent out part of the house. They could sell it. They've got a lot of options. But with let's say on that previous example, 300, if they had $150,000 payoff, well, that $150,000 could last them 5 or 6 or 8 years worth of mortgage payments before that goes away. They got a lot of time to make whatever decisions they make on the house. So if you notice at the top, mortgage protection, not mortgage payoff. Some people confuse the two. They're like 80 years old. And they're like, I want my mortgage paid off if I die. And I think you're crazy because that's not going to happen. But here's what we can do. Now, if you're 20, awesome, no problem. If you're 40, maybe. But if you're 70 plus, the strategy is not even a full partial. It's just equity protection. So you talk in terms of how long that small policy will pay the mortgage once the policy or the insured passes away. So let's say, Bob, if you were to pass away, Martha, his wife, would receive a check for, let's say, $18,000. It's a final expense policy. Maybe it's $80 a month, right? It's going to be in their sweet spot, but it's only $15,000. So what's she going to do with $15,000? Well, maybe that gives her 8 months worth of mortgage payments. I do very simple math. I keep a calculator right here at my desk, and they can hear me punching away at the background. I say, okay, tell me your mortgage payment. So it's $1,800. Okay, perfect. So if your mortgage payment, we'll say $1,800, which is an average mortgage payment out here in Arizona, anyways, and let's say we want to protect that mortgage for 6 months. Well, very simple math. It's $10,800. That's the size of the death benefit, and that's going to be very affordable. So, Mr. Bob, basically what's happening is you're making that mortgage payment for Martha for 6 more months after you pass away. So she's got 6 months to decide and figure out what she's going to do with their house. Okay, you're protecting that for a period of time. That's called equity protection, or critical period. You might hear it as critical period, because you don't want to be making very important mortgage decisions or financial decisions right after you lose a loved one. That's probably the worst time to be making important financial decisions. So we're going to separate the two by giving her a buffer so that she can decide what to do with the house. So we're not paying off the house. Nobody's paying off the house with a 70 or 80-year-old unless they've got a lot of money, and then they're not looking for life insurance because they're self-insured. So the middle-income America, their surviving spouses typically cannot afford to keep the house without the income of both. And as soon as one goes away, they're going to lose the house. So what we do is protect it for a period of time so they can make those decisions. Refinance, cash out, get a renter, whatever you're going to do with the house. And then they don't lose all that equity. So that's why it's called the equity protection, because you might have $100,000 or $200,000 of home equity. And if you don't protect that, that can go back to the bank and not to your spouse, because that can be like a life insurance policy that pays out and funds the next phase of your life. So that's the equity. That's why we call it the equity protection strategy. It's really equity protection in all 3 strategies, but it's really hits home with the older folks. Okay, on to some more resources. If you go into the carrier resources tab and on Equus Financial, you're going to see all the carriers and all their products. So we're going to click GPM. We're going to scroll down. This was the Equity Protector product. They've got an underwriting guide. There's the calculator. Go to the e-app. Here's some notes. You can go in and out of all the policies. You can learn a lot here. Everything is resourced right here under this carrier resources tab. And it's not a tab, I don't think, that gets enough attention. It's very, very valuable. So phone numbers are on here, how to contact them, everything. Okay, inevitably, as you're going through, you're going to have a no-show. This will happen. If it hasn't already, multiple times, it's going to happen. It's a part of what we do day in and day out. No-shows are because people change their mind, they get busy, they back out, whatever. I mean, you can drive to the house, knock on the door, nobody answers, dial the phone, ring, 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 nobody answers. No-shows come in all forms, but here's what to do. If this happens, ideally, you've blocked off maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes at least on your calendar. So you take that dial time, or you take that time and you dial with it and replace that one no-show with 2 more appointments. What happens if you do that? Number one, you keep your momentum going. It boosts your confidence. It keeps you productive, and you don't feel nearly as discouraged. So it's good all the way around. If you have one no-show, try and replace it with 2 new appointments with the time you would have spent on that appointment. Okay, right now, brand new goal, Trailblazer Award. 45 days from your good to go email, you need to pay at least 3 applications for $2,700 APV, $2,750, and bonusable premium, not controlled business and not guaranteed issue. If you do it in 30 days, you get the Trailblazer Gold Award. Ooh, these are little canvases that you'll get from Eric, and they will replace your name here with your actual name, by the way. $150 lead credit on top of that. So you get some bonuses, but it's bragging rights. And this is the only time you can get this award, is right when you first start. The purpose here is to get you moving, because once you get in motion, it's not just for the canvas or the bragging rights, although that's nice. But once you get in motion, that momentum is everything, and you can keep going. So the hardest part is getting in motion. And a lot of times that's at the very beginning. But once you're in motion, life's a lot easier when you're a life insurance agent. So get that momentum on your side. The accountability works like this. Number one, it's going to be you versus a mentor, of course. You've got accountability. You're going to set some goals together, plan of action. You're going to be working together. But there's another layer of accountability that a lot of people don't talk about. And that is when you bring in people on your team. Okay. Because now they're looking up to you. You came in and, they don't want to see, they want to see you succeeding because they're kind of following your lead, right? So there's accountability on both sides. Now your mentor, will also mentor those new people that you bring in. So you don't have to fill that role because you're still new and still trying to make this work and get going. Everybody I know who's a mentor manager will be happy to mentor your agents for you. But you're surrounded, you can see that circle of accountability. And then those 3 agents, those become qualified unique writers, QFWs. Everybody's writing 2 or 3 apps a week. Okay. Part-timers, whatever. Guess what? At the end of the month, you'll hit about 25,000 APV. And if you do that twice in a row, you become a sales manager. You get 5 of those QUWs and you hit 50,000 twice in a row and you become a regional manager. Jason and Crystal just became regional managers. There's some cool bonuses that come with doing this. Not only do you get comp increases, you get bonuses, and then you're getting overrides, not to mention your back ends and any other spiffs that Equus throws in for reaching different levels. So there's a lot, income increases, momentum increases, and you start building out a machine that is going to start generating, those overrides and those extra residual income sources for you. So this is the long-term game plan. You're not just selling here, but you're building a machine that's going to produce, whether you like it or not. That's the goal, is to get to a point where your business is producing income around the clock. Okay. Regardless of what you do, in spite of yourself. Here's really what it takes to win. Now, this is the best that I can illustrate this in the most direct terms. Because like I said, when we started, it's not necessarily an easy business, and it's usually mental. We're not digging ditches and breaking our backs, but mentally it can get tough. So right now, when you start out, you're kind of in a comfort zone, or you've been in one. Your job is a comfort zone. It's not the first few days when you first get a job, but I was in my job for 15 years. I could practically do it in my sleep, right? You go to work, you know where you go, you sit down, you got your assignments, your clients, your coworkers, everything is familiar. So it's comfortable. And what happens is when we get in this business, you have to go outside of your comfort zone. And it's a big, scary world out there. That's where the struggle is, right? And you're working from home, and, your mentor's on the other side of the United States, like mine was when I started. Because Vicky, like you, my direct mentor is Jason and Crystal. So they were in Pennsylvania at the time. They're in Ohio now, which isn't that much closer. But I don't get to drive to their house and sit in their living room and, sit and work together side by side. I had to push myself through the struggle. Now, I could call him, and I encourage you to do so when you're struggling or when you're going through a hard time. Make sure that you're not doing it quietly, because your mentor, your manager, is there to help you through, especially through the struggle. Why? Because on the other side of the struggle, and only on the other side, is the victory. So you have to cross that line or you'll never get to the victory. And some people kind of just, because when they flirt with the business, they kind of just flounder around in here and they're constantly struggling, but they never put quite enough effort in to push over this line. So they might have some small victories, some, write a few apps here and there and things, and that's great, but not enough to really get that momentum, to really have it click. You have to, it's like a snowball at the top of the hill. The very first part of the snowball, you're packing, right? And you're pushing and you're manually pulling the snow together, and some of it falls off because maybe it's not warm enough snow. It's really cold. And so it's powdery, and you're trying to get it to stick, and you're trying and you're trying and you're trying. And finally you get to the edge of the hill and you start getting a little bit of momentum. You start rolling it, and it doesn't really roll well at first because it's not very heavy and the hill's not quite steep enough. And so you keep going and you're packing the snow and you're putting a lot of work, right? And people are looking at you going, what are you doing? Why are you putting in a lot of work? You're really not getting that thing up off the ground, but they don't see what you see. You see, that snowball, once you get it big enough, and once the hill is steep enough and the snow is warm enough, you can give it a little push and it starts going down the hill, and it goes on its own, and it goes bigger and bigger on its own. And then you can't stop it. And you get to a point where it's going to go whether you like it or not. Just stay out of the way because it's going, right? That's what we're building. And if you can get that big long-term game plan in your mind, it will push you through the struggle. Because this right here is where most agents don't make it, is they stay in that struggle loop and they don't really put enough effort, and they look at their snowball at the top of the hill and they go, this is stupid. I'm going to go back to my job, or I'm going to go do something else. And then they take off, not realizing that had they packed a little bit more and pushed a little harder and gotten that thing started, it would have turned into an income producing machine that could last the rest of their life. So the struggle is definitely real. To coin a phrase that we all use, the struggle is real, but is it worth it? Absolutely. Because I don't get this little success formula at my job. I don't. Someone else owns the business. No matter how hard I work at my job, my last name isn't the right one, right? I'm not getting the CEO's paycheck. That's why when we take ownership here at Equus, we have the reins, right? We are in charge. We're in the driver's seat. So how much effort you put in, how far you go, how long you last, those are all up to you. But I can tell you 100% of the people that quit don't make it. I know that sounds obvious, but it's true. And sometimes it's not so obvious because we want success, but then we quit, and you scratch your head going, well, why? Because you just guaranteed that you now won't have success. That's the only way to guarantee that you won't have success, is to quit. So no matter the struggle, hang in there. But don't hang in there by yourself. And this is the cool thing about Equus. This is the one promise that we can make, is that someone will be there to pick you up. Okay. I never had to struggle myself. I had a lot of lonely moments when I was starting out. I had a lot of failure and discouragement and a lot of horrible, horrible appointments. You would have all laughed at me in the early days if you could have been a fly on the wall. But I was on the phone a lot with Jason, and you can ask him. He earned his money. He earned his overrides because I needed somebody to pick me back up. And there were many times where I was like, I don't know if I'm in the right place. Like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. This is not working. And I don't know if this is for me. And I'd quit 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes 5 or 10 times a day. But he was always there to pick me back up. And I kept saying to myself, if he can do this, some guy on the other side of the United States who will pick up my phone every time I call, and I've got somebody in my back pocket. I don't have a boss or a manager like that. They only want me to succeed only to a point. They don't want me to take over their position. Jason would love to see nothing more than me be even more successful than him, because our success is all tied together. So we celebrate success across the board. So I always had someone in my corner, and I realized that if I could just stay close to him through the struggle, that I could get through it. And that's what got me through it. And that's what will get you through it as well. Okay. So here's what it takes to win in written form. Take massive, immediate action. Get your head down. Don't worry about the naysayers. Don't worry about the speed bumps. Don't worry about the obstacles. Don't worry about all the challenges, trials, the sweat, blood, and tears. It's all going to be part of it. Just get your head down and focus on your activity. I'm going to make this real simple for you here at the end on what you should focus on. Give yourself 30 to 60 days. Now, if you're brand new, 30 to 60 days. I would say maybe closer to 60 to 90, because it might take a little bit longer than 30, but consistent effort. Okay. Consistent effort. Now, you notice I didn't say results. I didn't say go write 10 apps a week for 30 to 60 days. Consistent effort, because the apps will come if you put the effort in consistently. Go all in. Okay. Don't flirt with this. It's not a hobby. It's a business. We want it to pay out like a business, not pay out like a hobby, because hobbies are very unprofitable. Your calendar is your boss. Okay. You thought you were leaving your job to come here so that you could be a business owner, because you can be your own boss and not have a boss, and all the wonderful, exciting things that come with having your freedom. It's maybe not as sexy as it sounds, but you do have a boss, and it's called your calendar. Be consistent through the good. And you see consistent up there a couple of times. Consistency. There was a podcast that I did several months ago in how I was consistent. And and how that fared out at the end of the year. I'll let you go listen to it, but it's all about consistency, and it pays off in exponential ways. Part-time, I'm going to say at least 10 appointments a week, and full-time 20 to 30 appointments per week. Okay. Starting out until you get that momentum going. So that's kind of what those look like. Now it could be anywhere in between, and maybe you're not even part-time. Maybe you're sometimes. That's fine. You start where you are, do as many as you can. But I always encourage people to book more. Remember, massive immediate action, massive action. Book more appointments than you think. If you only have 3 hours a week, try and fill those with 4 or 5 appointments. Scare yourself a little bit that you can't get to everybody. Okay. That keeps you moving. That puts a hustle in your voice and energy in your step, and it keeps you going the way that you should when you're on appointments and you're moving when you get to your office. If your schedule is empty, it's easy to flounder. It's easy to get, lost on social media and just go, I'll attack it tomorrow. And day by day, you slowly, waste away your week. So fill up your calendar, give yourself something to be a little scared about. Okay. And then go attack it, and you'll be amazed at what happens. Here's your homework. Join our team calls. It's Mondays and Fridays now, not Wednesdays. Okay, so this was written before when we had Opt. We just are changing that, but you can talk to Kristen Brockman, or you can call somebody at the lead center, but get it on a stand-in lead order or a campaign. Even if it's as small as you can with your budget. If it's a small budget, that's okay, but have a lead flow coming in on a weekly basis from somewhere. Okay. Whether it's outside lead sources, friends and family, referrals, aid clients. As you grow, you're going to have easier and easier lead sources coming in. But at first, probably just get a bunch of leads coming in as much as you can afford on a weekly basis. Now, invite your top 10 or 15 running buddies. Remember that accountability thing? You want to have a few people because you want to be setting yourself up for a sales manager and regional manager. So start getting people to join. Share the opportunity and introduce them to your mentor. They will be glad to mentor them for you. Schedule 10 or 15 practice appointments. Okay, this is to get the bugs out and to get you feeling a little more confident, and hopefully to write a few pieces of business. Start tracking your numbers. I'm going to end on that in a minute. Communicate. I ask all my agents to check in, especially when they're new, check in regularly on Voxer. That's why I use Voxer. I like it for that. But however your manager likes you to communicate, just make sure you have a direct line and open communication with your manager on a regular basis. Get on the next dial session and then build out your calendar. And I'd make it look something like this. I have, let's say I don't have a job anymore, but I block this in as if I did. So maybe you have a job and that's all the red, right? And then evening time, you've got appointments, and sometimes you've got church duties, and you can see family time, and you can see on Friday, I've got date night because I got to keep the marriage alive. And you've got the coaching calls. I block those off because those are staples. And I got dial time up here. I call prospecting time. Those are when I dial. So an hour and a half, and I got a staff meeting. And anyways, Sunday is family day. However you block it off for you. Stephen Covey, right? The big boulders, the rocks, the pebbles, the sand, and the water. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but block off the most important things, and the small things can fit around them. So your job is important. Family time is important. Church or God time is important. And then it's Equus. So when are you going to dial, and when are you going to run appointments? Put it on your calendar so you're intentionally attacking a specific game plan. And remember what I just shared, your calendar is your what? Your boss, right? So once you put this on, this is your commitment to yourself. You build confidence best by keeping commitments to yourself. Okay. Let's build your game plan. So here's what we're going to do right now for the last few minutes, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. I am going to share, let's see, in the chat room. Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed the question from earlier. Do you have to use the calculator during the call? I don't, but I like to. I don't have to, but I do. I like them knowing that I'm working on something with them real time. So that's my thing. I'm going to share a spreadsheet right now with you all in the chat room. You can download that. And what we're going to do is I'm going to split the screen over now to this, and you're going to each build out your own game plan. Okay. Here we go. Let's see, share screen, and we're back. Krista, you recognize this. You don't have to do it because you already have. But you may not know about this, though. I added this, Krista. You may not have seen this, but here's a calculator that I put in. So you come over here to the once you've downloaded, it's an Excel spreadsheet. Go to the second tab, which says Game Plan. Okay, you don't have to do this live with me. Just when we hang up, you can do this. Put in at the top the income that you want. And remember, we're starting with the end in mind. Another Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of highly effective people, right? Start with the end in mind. That's one of the habits. So what is the end goal, the end outcome? How much money do you want to make in 12 months from now? Let's say I want to make $100,000 in the next 12 months. What is it going to take for me to do that? You type in that right there at the green. Now, all these are built on laws of averages. So is this a promise? No, just like selling a universal life. These are projections. This is an illustration. These are based on the laws of averages. So a 70% comp level, you might be higher. Great if you are, easier if you are. Placement rate, we're looking for at least 70%. Now, if you have a lower placement rate, you need to be talking to your manager and getting that back up. But assuming a placement rate of 70%, boom, here's the averages that come out monthly, weekly, and then at the bottom, it spits out based on a 70% show rate, 50% close rate, 15. 15 becomes your magic number. So I'll tell you what that is in a second. You come over here to the tab 2023, you type in the number 15 where it says magic number, and this is the number of appointments you need to set every week. Okay, doesn't mean it's the number of appointments that show up. That's a different number. Doesn't mean that's the number of applications you have to write. Although if you're writing 15 apps a week, you're going to blow 100,000 out of the water come June or July. So 15 appointments set every week. Okay, and you can see the rest of your game plan populates here. So this half of the spreadsheet is personal production. Okay, if you remember Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, ESBI, this is the active side of the cash flow quadrant. You're trading time for dollars. If you're not selling, you're not making money, right? I can sell life insurance all year long and I'm doing great. And then January, I have to sell life insurance all year long to make more money in the next year and the next year and the next year. And as soon as I stop selling, most of that goes away. I say most because there's some residuals that come in whole life and IULs, but for the most part, your income goes away. So how do you get past that? We all want to not have to work the rest of our lives, right? So we're not just building a job for ourselves. We're building a machine. This is the snowball at the top of the hill. We don't want to keep packing. We don't want to build a snowman that way. You want to just roll it and watch it go. So you need to be focused over here on this side, which is the building side. This is the right side of the cash flow quadrant where your money comes from passive, not active. Okay. So active or passive income means you have money coming in spite of your own efforts. And you do that by building a team. So you want to also be paying attention to how many people sign their ICA, first-time writers, and qualified unique writers, the QUWs, which qualify you for sales manager and regional manager. Okay, this is the fun stuff. So write your paycheck, pay your bills, get profitable, and then build a team and get them profitable. And you'll be amazed at what happens. So 15 sets a week. This is probably a little on the higher side. It really depends on what leads you need to get or what the lead strategy is. So 60, I'm going to say 420, 60 leads, 225 dials, chat with 45 people. These are, again, laws of averages. And it depends on your type of lead. So if you're working brand new A leads, you're going to have a lot better numbers than this. If you're working D leads or leads that are 2 years old, the numbers aren't going to be this nice because you have to make a lot more calls, but the leads are 50 cents a piece. So adjust this accordingly. But from here to the right side, 15 sets, once you set your appointments, however you set them, you should sit on at least half, especially starting out. I'm going to give you grace. Once you're in motion, you need that to be higher. You need that to be 60, 70% show rate. Again, the other 30%, those are no shows. So we're trying to book 2 for every one we miss. So you're going to sit on 7.5. From that close ratio, 50% is what we're looking for. So we're going to say 3 being conservative. Average APV is about 1,100. So APV paid, because this is going to be a 70% placement rate, but you're going to have some that don't get issued. And then deposits is because you get front end commission on 70%. This is based on a 70% comp rate. Your 90% or 75% up front on 70% turns into about half of the APV becomes income. And there's some that pay at comp, a little bit higher than comp, and lower than comp, depending on what type of. So there's a lot of formulas, but on average, I was always cutting my APV, paid APV, in half for my income. It's just a nice rule of thumb. So if you're getting 2,300 of APV, you're probably gonna make about $1,100 of deposits. Okay. And then you start tracking this week by week by week. And these are the numbers when your coach gets on with you to do a strategy call, because you're struggling. You're in that struggle I showed you a minute ago. They're going to want to look at the numbers. Let's see how you've been doing. And let's figure out your ratios and see where your system is broken, because it's all very scientific. So you can see down here at the bottom, there's ratios. And if you get really good at filling these in week after week after week, we don't have to wonder why your business isn't exploding. We can know exactly where the problem is, and we can look at it together and go, oh, okay. So it looks like you're really good at talking to people, but you're not so good at scheduling or getting them on the calendar. Or maybe you're really good at getting them on the calendar, but they're just not showing up. Or maybe they're showing up, but you're not writing policies. And maybe you're writing policies, but you're not getting them placed. They're getting rejected. So anywhere along the line, there can be a missing, a ratio that's low. And that tells us where we need to coach. So if you don't track your numbers, and you don't have to use this, this is my geeked out spreadsheet that I do because I'm a spreadsheet guy. I love these. If you do it your own way, that's fine. You can do it on paper, or, I used a dry erase board for a long time in my bedroom until my wife finally said, that's too ugly for our bedroom. We need that to go. And so I had to go to spreadsheets, but you can track them however you want, but track your numbers. And this is the principle. These are the things you want to track, because once you get good at that, now the coach knows how to help you. If you don't have your numbers, then it's emotion speaking. And you'll get on the phone with Jason or Ken, and you'll say, hey, Ken, my week is just going horrible. This business isn't working. I'm not sure what to do. Okay, what's the problem? I call, some people aren't showing up, and other people get kind of upset. And I've had some people say this, and then there's a few guys that I wrote policy on. They didn't, and I listen to the language. Some, a few, kind of, others. Like, there's no clarity in that. We need to tell Ken, I called 27 people, 18 of them answered the phone. I scheduled 6 and I wrote 2. Now Ken can do something with that because it's data. It's unemotional. So probably your number one job as a new agent is track your numbers. I think it's that important, because then you can know how to fix, or your manager can know how to help fix anything that goes wrong. So other tabs down here, there's some assets you can look at. There's a place where you can kind of build out a calendar, and then reminder of the Trailblazer Award. So that's a thing that helps you really focus on what's most important. The magic number, to summarize, 15. If your income goal is 100,000, I'm going to say 15 appointments a week. So when you wake up Monday morning, or whenever your week starts, Equus's week technically starts Friday at 5. But let's say Friday at 6, you wake up. Maybe you were taking a nap. You wake up Friday at 6 and you say, sometime between now and next Friday at 5, I have to schedule 15 appointments. Now that's it. Everything else is noise. Everything else can fall off, because now you have your game plan, right? All the principles that I've taught, what happens in a no-show, how to call, about cadence, how about running an appointment, and you'll forget most of it, and you'll try and you'll learn, and you'll, fall on your face a few times, and then it'll start to stick after about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, right? And that's all part of the process, and that's fine. But your focus is that 15. That's your magic number, because that's what's going to get you to that ultimate goal once you get good at selling insurance. So 15, come hell or high water, I got to get 15 people on my calendar. It can be your next door neighbor. It can be your mom. It can be the lady next to you at the grocery store. It can be the PTA president. It can be from leads. And a lot of times it is from leads. Doesn't matter where it's from, 15, right? If you want that goal, 15, that's your magic number. Everything else, it's just white noise. Okay. So now you can get hyper focused. And now you can wake up every day and ask yourself intelligent questions like, how can I get 4 people on my calendar today? Instead of what should I do today, which doesn't really get you anywhere. Instead, ask yourself something specific that gets your brain going. How can I get 4 people on my calendar today? And maybe it's 5, however you have it broken down. Social media. Now you start thinking out of the box. Well, I know some people, maybe I can't afford leads. And your brain starts going to work because you're asking the question in the right way, because you have specificity in your game plan and in your goal. Okay. So that's the value of a magic number. So you calculate yours on there and then put it in here and then get to work. And everything else just falls by the wayside. Don't worry about anything else at first. Massive activity. Okay. You're running hard. You got your head down and you're just going for that magic number week after week. You're trying to be consistent. Don't worry about being polished. Don't worry about flopping. We'll get good as we go. Okay. You're going to not be good at appointments at first. You're not going to be good at dialing at first. And if you are, I'm jealous because that's not fair to the rest of us. But most of us are not good. We get good. We get good by doing it and by listening. And then you go into the coaching calls. You come on the calls, you get trained, you make improvements, you start learning little things and you put them into your present. Oh, that was a really good way of saying that. I'm going to start using that now. Oh, I like what Jason said. Oh, I like what Kim said. I like what Ken said. And all these managers will chime in and give you little nuggets. And one by one, you'll start building your machine. And then as soon as you get, a few months in, I'm going to say, 30 to 60 days at least, you'll start finding a groove and it'll start clicking. And then watch out because you can pretty much write your own paycheck after that. So, okay. Let's see. I think that's it. I'm actually going to end on one last thing and then I'll open it up for questions. And that's this right here. I'm going to ask this same question we started with. And that is, what do you do for work? And here's why I'm ending that with that question again. A lot of times we come in this business, we have the mindset that we do something for work. And then, oh, by the way, P.S., I also do life insurance on the side. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that you're going to keep yourself in the mindset that you're not a life insurance agent, that you're, my case, creative director. Okay. And I do life insurance on the side. So what am I doing? I'm giving importance to a job that I don't want anymore. I don't want to be a creative director. I didn't. This was me. I'm not talking for you, but their first few months, people ask me and I'd say, oh yeah, I'm a creative director and I do life insurance on the side. But then what I realized is what I need to do is I need to say, I'm a life insurance agent. And oh, by the way, I'm also a full-time creative director, right? You see the difference? I'm not a creative director and a part-time life insurance agent. I'm a life insurance agent and a full-time creative director, by the way, PS, right? Because I'm trying to go away from that. I want to get away from that past and into this for my future. And so I want to challenge you to change your mindset when someone asks you what you do. Think twice about how you answer and what you're labeling yourself as and what that's going to do to try and keep you from moving forward into the space where you want to be, leveraging the power of a life insurance opportunity like what we have here. So with that, let me close out the presentation and open it up for Q&A.